going to talk about retries, retryOn, and retryDelay. So let's just start with retries, and let's just say 3. So we want it to retry 3 times. So let's just take a look. Obviously, the first time it's going to do it, this is our HTTP request for to-dos. You can see that right here, doing JSON placeholder.typecode.com/to-dos. So it's going to retry 3 times if it fails. So let's do http bin.org/status/300. So this is going to be a faked fail request because response is not going to be okay because it's greater than 299. Anytime you have a status code that's above the 200 range, it's going to give you a response.ok that is false. So let's save this and check it out. Okay, so you can see here's our first one. Here's our, that's our initial request, and we're gonna retry 3 more times, and here's our 3 other retries. So that's how that works. And by default, it just checks to see if the response is not okay, and if it's not, then it will just go ahead and retry. Now, we can change that to say retryOn. And retryOn has 2 different kinds of values. You can have an array of status codes, like for instance 300, so retry on 300 and 400. So you can see right here, it's going to retry 3 additional times because it's 300. If we did not have 300 in there, notice that it does not retry. Even though it gives us a response of 300, it doesn't retry. And the reason is because we only specified that we wanted to retry on 400 errors. If it's just by itself, it's going to retry anytime the status code is greater than 299. So basically 300 and greater, it's going to continuously retry. But if we specify a specific error code in retryOn, it's only going to retry on those. Now, we can also do this as a function. So attempt, response, and error. Now, I want to touch on this because what's interesting, let's just do console.log attempt response and error. And so with retryOn as a function, you want to return a Boolean because basically if retryOn is true, then we're going to retry. If retryOn is false, then we are not going to retry. So let's just say Boolean. That might make it easier for you guys to understand. Okay, so we're going to coerce this error into a Boolean, and if it's null, undefined, 0, false, it's just going to be false. But if it's an object, if it's truthy, it's going to be true. Or if response exists and the response is not okay, we want to retry if there is an error or if the response is not okay. All right, so let's take a look at this. So you can see here that our response is not okay. So we do our initial fetch, retry once, retry twice, retry a 3rd time. And you can see our attempts here. Error is undefined, but we have an attempt 1, error is undefined, attempt 2, and retry 3, attempt 3. So you can see that right here. You can also see that in our network tab of our Chrome Dev Consoles. We have our initial request, we have our 1st, 2nd, and 3rd attempt. Now, something that's interesting about this is we have this error here. So when is this error called? When does this actually be set? Well, you can see that if we have a status code of 300 here, it's not set. Now the answer to that is if we take this offline. Let's console log down here. To-dos. Clear. Go offline. Okay. There we go. You just saw how it made the first one, and then this is our first retry, second retry, and third retry. Okay, so it's trying to post, didn't work, error, no disconnection, and you can see our error here. Here is our error. That is what happens when you're offline and you try to make a request. It will error. Instead of giving you a response with a bad code, it just errors. And so that's why we have to handle it when we have an error. So that's basically why we have this response and the error, because most of the time you're going to use response and see if response is not okay. But there are times where you need to have the error. And that's an example is when you're offline. All right, retry delay. All right, so we can set a delay. And so what that's going to do is then it's going to fail. So we have our first retry, then it's 3 seconds later. Okay, another one. And then 3 seconds later, we get another one. So that's how that works with this retry delay of this. Now, we can also have a function for this as well. So we can say attempt response. I think there's also error in there. Now, why would we want to do a function? Well, it's because we have things like this right here where we can do an exponential backoff or a linear backoff. So let's just put this exponential backoff in here and let's just see what happens. Okay. So notice how those two went pretty quick and it's exponential. So that last one took a minute. Let's just restart that. So we have boom, wait a second, boom, then wait even longer, boom. All right. So that allows us to increase each retry the time that it takes to like the time in which we request the new one. So the first time is immediate right here. The second time it's ×2. The third time it's exponential. So it's going to keep growing in how long it takes to do that. If you guys have any questions about how these work, just go ahead and post a comment in the comments below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Hopefully this was helpful. Thanks.